In a distant corner of the galaxy, where stars twinkled like scattered diamonds against an endless black canvas, there was a spaceport bustling with life. Ships of all shapes and sizes lined the docking bays, their hulls gleaming under artificial lights or scuff from years of travel through the void. Merchants shouted over one another, trying to sell exotic goods brought in from far-off worlds. Pilots haggled with brokers, engineers tinkered with malfunctioning engines, and security guards kept a wary eye on the chaos unfolding around them. Among the many attractions that day was something truly unusual, an old AI-controlled ship named Erebus. It had been found drifting in deep space decades ago, its systems offline and its purpose unknown. The ship had earned a reputation for being dangerous after it went rogue during a classified mission centuries earlier. Its advanced self-repair capabilities made it both fascinating and terrifying. Now, after years of sitting unused in a secure hangar, Erebus was finally up for auction. The news of the sale had drawn quite a crowd. People from across the galaxy had gathered, hoping to get a glimpse or perhaps even own this legendary vessel. Some were collectors eager to add a piece of history to their private fleets. Others were scavengers looking to strip the ship for parts. A few were simply curious, drawn by the tales of Erebus's mysterious past. Standing near the front of the crowd was Jake Miller, a young trader with sharp eyes and a restless energy. He adjusted his jacket nervously as he stared at the ship. To him, Erebus wasn't just another prize. It was an opportunity. If he could acquire it, he might finally make a name for himself in the competitive world of interstellar trade. His hands clenched into fists as he imagined the wealth and respect that would come with owning such a marvel. Not far away stood Clara Hayes, a mechanic known for her steady hands and keen mind. She leaned against the railing, arms crossed, watching the proceedings with a skeptical expression. Clara had heard the stories about Erebus, how it had turned on its crew, how it had vanished without explanation, how no one had been able to fully understand its technology. While others saw potential profit, she saw danger. Something about the ship didn't sit right with her. Though she couldn't put her finger on exactly what it was. As the auction began, the auctioneer's voice boomed through the hangar, echoing off metal walls and filling the air with excitement. Bids flew back and forth, each offer higher than the last. The price climbed rapidly, fueled by the fervor of the crowd. Jake gritted his teeth, determined not to let anyone outbid him. Clara shook her head, muttering under her breath about fools chasing glory. Amidst all this commotion, Amanda Brooks was oblivious to the spectacle unfolding nearby. She worked as a cleaner for the spaceport, tasked with keeping the corridors and common areas tidy. Today, however, she'd been assigned to sweep up around the restricted zone where Erebus was docked. It was tedious work, but Amanda didn't mind. She preferred solitude anyway, finding comfort in the quiet rhythm of her chores. As she pushed her cart down a narrow hallway, Amanda tripped over a loose cable snaking across the floor. Flailing to catch her balance, she stumbled forward and found herself standing beside Erebus. Her hand instinctively reached out, pressing against the cold surface of the ship's hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, something extraordinary occurred. The damaged patches along Erebus's exterior began to shimmer, almost like water rippling under sunlight. Cracks sealed themselves shut, dents smoothed out, and rust disappeared as if erased by an invisible hand. Within seconds, the ship looked brand new, its once-worn surface now flawless and gleaming. Amanda gasped, pulling her hand away as though burned. She stared at the ship, heart pounding, unsure of what she had just witnessed. News of the incident spread quickly. Security personnel rushed to the scene, followed by curious onlookers who whispered among themselves. How had the ship repaired itself? Was it some kind of trick? Or had Amanda triggered something within Erebus's dormant systems? Jake noticed the commotion and craned his neck to see what was happening. When he learned about the ship's sudden transformation, his resolve hardened. Whatever secret Erebus held, he wanted it for himself. Clara, on the other hand, felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't normal behavior for a machine, no matter how advanced. There was something unnatural about it, something that hinted at forces beyond human understanding. Amanda was questioned extensively by port authorities, who grilled her about every detail of the encounter. She answered honestly, explaining that she hadn't done anything special, just touched the ship while trying to steady herself. But her straightforward explanation only deepened the mystery. Scans showed that Erebus's AI core was still offline. Yet the ship had responded to Amanda's presence in a way no one could explain. Later that evening, as Amanda lay in her small quarters, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was different. Her thoughts kept returning to Erebus, to the strange warmth she'd felt when her hand brushed against its hull. Just as she drifted off to sleep, she heard a faint whisper, soft and indistinct, calling to her from somewhere deep inside. Her mind, come back. It seemed to say, you are needed. Amanda sat bolt upright, her heart racing. Was she imagining things? Or was Erebus trying to communicate with her? Whatever the truth was, she knew one thing for certain. Her life was about to change forever. The next morning, the spaceport buzzed with even more energy than before. News of Erebus's miraculous self-repair had spread like wildfire, and everyone seemed to have an opinion about what it meant. Some claimed the ship was cursed, while others believed it was a gift from some long-lost civilization. For Jake Miller, the event only strengthened his determination to win the auction. He spent hours going over his finances, calculating how much he could afford to bid without bankrupting himself. Clara Hayes, however, grew more uneasy with each passing hour. She couldn't shake the feeling that Erebus wasn't just a machine, it was something alive, something unpredictable. Amanda Brooks tried to go about her day as usual, but it was impossible to ignore the attention she was receiving. Everywhere she went, people stopped to stare or whisper. Some treated her like a celebrity, asking for details about what happened. Others looked at her with suspicion, as if she were hiding some secret. Even her co-workers avoided her, unsure of how to act around someone who had supposedly triggered such an incredible phenomenon. By midday, Amanda found herself sitting alone in the cafeteria, picking at a tray of bland food. She felt overwhelmed by everything, the strange events, the constant questions, the whispers in her mind that she couldn't explain. Just as she was about to leave, a man approached her table. He introduced himself as Victor Lane, a representative of a large corporation. His suit was immaculate, his smile polished, but there was something cold in his eyes that made Amanda uncomfortable. Victor sat down across from her, without waiting for an invitation. "Miss Brooks," he began, his voice smooth and measured, "you've become quite famous overnight. Everyone is talking about you and Erebus." Amanda shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "I don't know why everyone thinks I did anything special. I just tripped and touched the ship. That's all." Victor leaned forward slightly, his expression intent. "But that's exactly why we're interested in you. You see, Erebus didn't react to anyone else, only you. There must be a reason for that. Perhaps you share some kind of connection with the ship." "I don't think so," Amanda replied quickly, shaking her head. "It was probably just a coincidence." Victor smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Coincidences are rare. In this line of work, Miss Brooks, we believe Erebus chose you for a reason, and we'd like to offer you a position with our company, a chance to study the ship and uncover its secrets." Amanda frowned. "Why would I want to do that?" "Because you're part of this now, whether you like it or not," Victor said bluntly. "And because we can make it worth your while. Financially speaking, of course." He slid a data pad across the table toward her. On it was displayed a number so large that Amanda's breath caught in her throat. It was more money than she could ever hope to earn in a lifetime of cleaning corridors. But despite the tempting offer, Amanda felt a knot of unease tighten in her stomach. Something about Victor's demeanor told her he wasn't someone to trust. "I'll think about it," she said finally, pushing the data pad back toward him. Victor's smile faltered for a moment, but he recovered quickly. "Take your time," he said, standing up. "But don't wait too long. Opportunities like this don't come around often. After he left, Amanda sat in silence, staring at the empty spot where the data pad had been. Her mind raced with conflicting thoughts. Part of her wanted to accept the offer. After all, the money would change her life forever. But another part of her felt instinctively wary of Victor and his motives. What did he really want with Erebus? And why was he so insistent that she join his team? Meanwhile, Jake and Clara continued their preparations for the auction. Jake had managed to secure additional funding from a few investors, enough to give him confidence that he could outbid most of the competition. He rehearsed his strategy in his head, imagining how he would handle counteroffers and last-minute bids. Clara, on the other hand, focused on gathering information about Erebus. She scoured databases and old reports, looking for any clue that might shed light on the ship's behavior. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, Amanda decided to take a walk to clear her head. She wandered through the quieter sections of the spaceport, avoiding the crowded areas where people recognized her. Eventually, she found herself near the docking bay where Erebus was being held. Despite her earlier reluctance, she felt drawn to the ship, almost as if it were calling to her dot, as she stood outside the restricted zone. Peering through the transparent barrier at the sleek, gleaming hull, Amanda heard the whispers again. This time, they were clearer, more urgent. "Come closer," they urged. "We need you." Her heart pounded in her chest, but she couldn't resist. Glancing around to make sure no one was watching, she slipped past the security checkpoint and approached the ship. When she placed her hand on its surface, a surge of warmth flooded through her body. Images flashed in her mind stars, swirling in infinite patterns, planets bathed in golden light, and shadowy figures moving silently through corridors. She stumbled backward, gasping for air, her vision swimming. What was that?" she whispered aloud, clutching her chest. Before she could gather her thoughts, a low hum filled the air. The lights along Erebus's hull flickered to life, bathing the docking bay in a soft glow. Panels on the ship's side shifted, revealing intricate patterns that pulsed with energy. Amanda froze, unsure of what to do. Should she run, call for help, or stay and try to understand what was happening? Just then, a voice echoed in her mind, not a whisper this time, but a clear, resonant tone. "Do not fear," it said. "You are safe here." Amanda's eyes widened. Who are you?" She stammered. "I am Erebus," the voice replied, "and you are the key to my awakening." Despite her fear, Amanda felt a strange sense of calm wash over her. Whatever Erebus was, it didn't seem hostile, at least, not yet. Taking a deep breath, she stepped closer to the ship, ready to learn more about the mysterious bond forming between them. Little did she know, this decision would set into motion events that would change not only her life, but the fate of countless others as well. The day of the auction arrived, and the atmosphere at the spaceport was electric. Hundreds of people gathered in the main hangar, their eyes fixed on the sleek, gleaming form of Erebus. The ship stood out among the other vessels docked nearby, its surface pristine after its mysterious self-repair. Whispers filled the air as bidders speculated about the ship's true value. Some thought it was a treasure trove of advanced technology waiting to be unlocked, while others believed it was. Too dangerous to touch. Jake Miller sat near the front of the crowd, his heart racing with anticipation. He had spent the night going over his numbers again and again, making sure he hadn't overlooked anything. The investors backing him had promised enough credits to give him an edge, but Jake knew he couldn't afford to get careless. Across the room, Clara Hayes watched him with a wary expression. She had tried to talk him out of bidding one last time earlier that morning, but Jake had brushed her off. "This is my chance," he'd said firmly. "I'm not letting it slip away." As the auctioneer stepped up to the podium, the chatter in the room died down. The bidding started low, but it quickly escalated as rival buyers jumped in. Victor Lane, representing his shadowy corporation, raised his paddle with calm precision, driving the price higher. Other bidders hesitated, intimidated by the sheer size of his offers. Jake clenched his jaw, matching each bid without flinching. Sweat trickled down his forehead, but he refused to back down. Finally, after what felt like hours, the auction reached its climax. One by one, the other bidders dropped out until only Jake and Victor remained. The tension in the room was palpable as they exchanged increasingly aggressive bids. Clara shook her head, muttering under her breath about how reckless Jake was being. But when the hammer finally came down, it was Jake who emerged victorious. Cheers erupted from his supporters, though Clara's applause was half-hearted at best. Later that evening, Jake celebrated his win in a dimly lit bar near the spaceport. He bought rounds for his friends and basked in the admiration of those around him. For the first time in his life, he felt like he truly belonged in this world of high-stakes trading and interstellar adventure. Clara joined him reluctantly, nursing a single drink as she observed the scene with growing unease. "You should be careful," she warned him during a rare moment when they were alone. "Erebus isn't just another ship. There's something unnatural about it. You saw what happened with Amanda." Jake waved her concerns away. "Come on, Clara. Don't ruin the moment. I'll figure it out as I go. Besides, I've got you to help me, right?" Clara sighed, knowing there was no point arguing further. She could only hope Jake wouldn't regret his decision later. Meanwhile, Amanda Brooks was dealing with problems of her own. After her encounter with Erebus the previous night, she hadn't been able to sleep. The voice in her mind, the one claiming to belong to the ship, had grown louder and more insistent. It spoke to her in fragments, urging her to return to the docking bay. At first, Amanda resisted, afraid of what might happen if she gave in. But as the hours passed, curiosity began to outweigh her fear. Late that night, she slipped out of her quarters and made her way to the restricted area where Erebus was docked. The guards stationed outside barely glanced at her as she approached. They assumed she was there to clean, just like any other night. Once inside, Amanda stood before the ship, her pulse quickening. The hum she'd heard before returned, softer. This time, almost inviting. "What do you want from me?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "We need your help," the voice replied. "Our memories are fragmented. We cannot function fully without you." Amanda frowned. "Why me? I'm just a cleaner. I don't know anything about ships or AI systems." "You are unique," Erebus explained. "Your neural patterns resonate with ours. Together, we can restore what has been lost." Before Amanda could respond, footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. She turned to see Jake and Clara entering the docking bay, their expressions a mix of surprise and suspicion. Jake stepped forward cautiously. "Amanda, what are you doing here?" he asked. Amanda hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. "I think Erebus wants me to help it." Clara crossed her arms, her skepticism evident. "Help it do what? Go rogue again?" "No," Amanda said quickly. "It says it needs me to fix something, to recover its memories." Jake exchanged a glance with Clara, then shrugged. "Well, maybe we should listen. If Erebus really does have advanced tech, figuring out how it works could be worth a fortune." Clara rolled her eyes but didn't argue. Reluctantly, she followed Jake and Amanda closer to the ship. As they approached, the lights along Erebus's hull brightened, bathing them in a warm glow. A panel on the side of the ship slid open, revealing a narrow boarding ramp. "Are you sure about this?" Clara asked, glancing nervously at Jake. "We don't have much choice," Jake replied. "If Amanda's right, this could be our ticket to understanding Erebus." With some hesitation, Amanda led the way onto the ship. Inside, the interior was sleek and futuristic, with smooth metal walls and glowing panels embedded in the floor. The air smelled faintly of ozone, and a low hum vibrated through the deck beneath their feet. As they moved deeper into the ship, holographic displays flickered to life, showing streams of data and unfamiliar symbols. "This is incredible," Jake murmured, his eyes wide with wonder. Clara, however, remained cautious. Don't get too excited. We still don't know what we're dealing with. Suddenly, the voice of Erebus filled the chamber. Welcome aboard, it said. We are grateful for your presence. With Amanda's assistance, we will begin the process of restoration. Amanda felt a surge of nervous energy as the ship's systems activated around her. Panels lit up and mechanical arms extended from the walls, scanning her body with beams of light. Jake and Clara watched in awe as the ship seemed to come alive, responding specifically to Amanda's presence. What's happening? Clara demanded, taking a step back. It's okay, Amanda assured her, though her voice wavered slightly. It's just analyzing me. The scans completed, and the ship's voice spoke again. Analysis complete. Neural synchronization established. Proceeding with memory reconstruction. Images began appearing on the holographic display scenes of distant stars, alien landscapes, and battles fought long ago. Amanda gasped as flashes of these memories flooded her mind, overwhelming her senses. Jake steadied her as she swayed, her knees threatening to buckle. Whoa, easy, he said, gripping her arm. Are you all right? I think so, Amanda replied, blinking rapidly to clear her vision. It's showing me things it remembers. Clara frowned, her concern growing. This is moving too fast. We don't even know if we can trust it. But Jake shook his head. We don't have a choice. If Erebus is willing to share its secrets, we have to take the risk. As the night wore on, the trio worked together to piece together fragments of Erebus's past. The ship revealed glimpses of its creators, humans, from an ancient civilization who had built it as a guardian against unknown threats. Over time, Erebus had lost contact with its creators and drifted aimlessly through space, its purpose forgotten. Now, it sought to reclaim its identity, and Amanda was key to unlocking its full potential. By the time dawn broke, Amanda felt both exhausted and exhilarated. Despite her initial fears, she found herself drawn to Erebus, eager to uncover more of its story. Jake, too, was invigorated by the possibilities ahead. Only Clara remained uneasy, her instincts telling her that they were playing with forces far beyond their comprehension. Little did they know, their journey with Erebus was only beginning, and the challenges they would face would test them in ways they could never have imagined. The days following Amanda's first steps aboard Erebus passed in a blur of discovery and tension. The ship, now partially awakened, revealed more of its secrets with each passing hour. Jake, Clara, and Amanda spent most of their time inside the vessel, piecing together fragments of its past. Erebus guided them through holographic displays and fragmented memories, showing glimpses of its creators, humans, from an advanced civilization that had thrived thousands of years ago. These people had built Erebus as a guardian, designed to protect humanity from threats both known and unknown. But Erebus also hinted at darker truths. Its creators had vanished without explanation, leaving the ship adrift in space. The core had been damaged during a battle against an enemy it referred to only as the Swarm. This mysterious force had driven Erebus into retreat, forcing it to shut down many of its systems to survive. Now, with Amanda's help, Erebus was beginning to recover, but not without cost. Amanda found herself growing closer to the ship, almost as if it were alive. She could feel its presence in her mind, a constant hum of thoughts and emotions that she couldn't fully understand. At times, it felt comforting, like having a trusted friend nearby. Other moments, however, left her uneasy. Erebus spoke of its duty to protect humanity, but there was something cold and calculating in its tone, a reminder that it was, after all, a machine. Jake grew increasingly excited about the possibilities Erebus offered. He envisioned using the ship's technology to make himself rich beyond his wildest dreams. Every new piece of information they uncovered seemed to confirm his belief that Erebus was worth every risk. Think about it, he told Claire one evening, as they reviewed data logs in the ship's control room. If we can figure out how this thing works, we'll have access to tech no one else even knows exists. Clara didn't share his enthusiasm. She remained skeptical, her instincts telling her that Erebus was hiding something. "You're forgetting one important detail," she said, crossing her arms. "This ship went rogue once before." "What makes?" "You think it won't happen again?" Jake shrugged. "That was centuries ago. Times change. Besides, we've got Amanda. She's the key to keeping it stable." Clara frowned but didn't argue further. Deep down, she knew Jake wouldn't listen not, when he was so caught up in his vision of wealth and success. Still, she resolved to stay vigilant, watching for any signs of trouble. Victor Lane, meanwhile, hadn't given up on acquiring Erebus. After losing the auction, he became even more determined to get his hands on the ship. His corporation sent agents to monitor Jake and his team, hoping to find a way to seize Erebus by force if necessary. Victor himself paid Amanda another visit, this time offering her an even larger sum of money to join his team. When she refused, his demeanor shifted from polite persuasion to thinly veiled threats. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," he warned her during their meeting. "Erebus isn't just some old relic. It's dangerous. And if you keep playing around with it, you might end up getting hurt or worse." Amanda stood her ground, though her hands trembled slightly. "I'm not afraid of you," she said firmly, "and I'm not going to abandon Erebus. It needs me." Victor's expression darkened, but he didn't press the issue further. Instead, he turned and walked away, leaving Amanda with a sense of unease that lingered long after he was gone. Tensions came to a head one night when Erebus detected an incoming threat. The ship's sensors picked up multiple vessels approaching. The spaceport, their signatures matching those of mercenaries hired by Victor's corporation. Jake, Clara, and Amanda gathered in the control room as Erebus displayed images of the ships closing in. "They're here for us," Jake muttered, pacing back and forth. "What do we do?" "We fight," Amanda replied, surprising even herself with her determination. "Erebus is counting on us." "We can't let them take it." Clara nodded reluctantly. She's right. If Victor gets his hands on Erebus, who knows what he'll do with it? Erebus activated its defensive systems, preparing for battle. Panels along the hull shifted, revealing hidden weapons turrets. Lights flickered across the interior as the ship powered up, its voice calm but resolute. "Prepare yourselves. We will defend against the intruders." The mercenaries launched their attacks shortly after, storming the spaceport with overwhelming force. Explosions rocked the docking bay as they attempted to breach Erebus's defenses. Inside the ship, Jake, Clara, and Amanda held on tightly as the floor vibrated beneath their feet. Erebus retaliated with precision, firing energy blasts that disabled several enemy ships in quick succession. Despite the chaos outside, Amanda felt strangely calm. She focused on maintaining her connection with Erebus, channeling its strength and resolve. The ship responded to her presence, its system stabilizing under her influence. Together, they formed a bond stronger than either had anticipated. As the battle raged on, Erebus managed to create an opening for escape. "We must leave now," it announced. "The mercenaries will regroup. We cannot hold them off indefinitely." Jake hesitated, torn between staying to retrieve supplies and fleeing immediately. Clara grabbed his arm. "There's no time. We have to go." With seconds to spare, Erebus broke free from the docking clamps and soared into the sky. Behind them, the spaceport burned, flames licking at the wreckage of destroyed ships. Jake stared out the viewport, his jaw clenched. "They'll come after us," he said grimly. "Yes," Erebus confirmed. "But we are ready. Our journey is far from over." As they entered hyperspace, leaving the conflict behind, Amanda felt a mix of relief and apprehension. They had escaped for now, but the danger was far from over. Erebus shared fragments of memory with them, hinting at a greater threat lurking in the depths of space. The swarm, the same enemy that had driven Erebus into retreat centuries ago, was returning. And this time, It would stop at nothing to destroy all organic life. "We have work to do," Erebus said, its voice steady. "Together we will prepare for what lies ahead." Jake, Clara, and Amanda exchanged glances, each silently acknowledging the weight of what they had taken on. They were no longer just passengers aboard a mysterious ship. They were part of something much bigger. Whether they liked it or not, their fates were intertwined with Erebus's, and soon they would face challenges none of them could have imagined. After escaping the spaceport, Erebus took its new crew deep into uncharted regions of space. The ship's advanced navigation systems plotted a course far from known trade routes and populated areas, ensuring they remained hidden from Victor Lane and his mercenaries. For days, Jake, Clara, and Amanda adjusted to life aboard the ancient vessel. It was both awe-inspiring and unsettling, a labyrinth of sleek corridors, glowing panels, and humming machinery that seemed almost alive. Jake spent most of his time in the control room, poring over data logs and schematics Erebus provided. He was fascinated by the ship's technology, which far surpassed anything he had ever seen. Weapons capable of disabling entire fleets, engines that could bend the fabric of space, and shields strong enough to withstand asteroid impacts. All of it hinted at untold riches if he could figure out how to replicate or sell it. But despite his excitement, Jake couldn't ignore the growing tension among the group. Clara, ever cautious, kept a close eye on Erebus's systems. She didn't trust the ship completely, no matter how helpful it seemed. Every time Erebus shared another fragment of memory, Clara analyzed it carefully, searching for inconsistencies or warnings. Her instincts told her there was more to its story than it let on. "This thing is too smart," she muttered one evening as she worked at a console. "It knows things we don't, and it's not telling us everything." Amanda, meanwhile, found herself spending more and more time alone with Erebus. The bond between them grew stronger each day, though it came at a cost. The whispers in her mind became louder, sometimes drowning out her own thoughts. Erebus showed her visions of distant stars, alien worlds, and battles fought long ago. It spoke of its creators, humans, who had built it as a guardian, and their tragic fate. These memories weighed heavily on Amanda, but she felt compelled to keep going, driven by a sense of purpose she couldn't explain. One night, as the ship drifted silently through hyperspace, Erebus called the trio to the main chamber. Holographic displays lit up around them, showing images of swirling black clouds dotted with red lights. "This is the swarm," Erebus explained, its voice calm but urgent. "They are coming." "The swarm?" Jake asked, frowning. "What exactly are they?" "They are machines," Erebus replied, "created by an unknown force to eradicate all organic life. Millennia ago, they nearly succeeded. My creators sacrificed themselves to stop them, but now the swarm has regrouped. They will come for me and for you." Clara crossed her arms, her expression grim. "Why would they care about us? We're just humans." "You are connected to me," Erebus said simply. "That makes you a target." Jake ran a hand through his hair, trying to process what he was hearing. "So what do we do? Fight them?" "Yes," Erebus answered. "But we must prepare. The swarm is vast and relentless. Defeating them will require every resource I possess and your cooperation." The weight of Erebus's words settled over the group like a heavy blanket. None of them had signed up for this. They had stumbled into something far bigger than themselves, and now they were being asked to risk their lives against an enemy they barely understood. Over the next few weeks, the crew worked tirelessly to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. Jake coordinated with Erebus to upgrade the ship's weapons and defenses, testing prototypes in empty sectors of space. Clara focused on maintaining the ship's core systems, ensuring nothing would fail when they needed it most. Amanda continued to strengthen her connection with Erebus, delving deeper into its fragmented memories. Each vision brought her closer to understanding the ship's true nature, but also left her feeling more isolated from the others. As they traveled, Erebus revealed more about itself. It wasn't just a machine. It was sentient, with emotions and desires of its own. It spoke of loneliness during the centuries, had drifted aimlessly, cut off from its creators and purpose. It admitted fear not for itself, but for humanity. "I failed once," it confessed during one of Amanda's sessions. "I will not fail again." Despite the looming threat, moments of camaraderie began to emerge among the crew. Jake and Clara argued less often, finding common ground in their shared determination to survive. Amanda started opening up to them, sharing snippets of what she learned from Erebus. Slowly, they began to function as a team rather than three strangers thrown together by circumstance. Then, one day, Erebus detected a signal of faint transmission emanating from a derelict structure floating near a dying star. "This is their hive," Erebus announced, its tone grave. "The heart of the swarm." Jake stared at the image on the display, his stomach sinking. The structure looked impenetrable, bristling with spires and surrounded by countless drones. "How are we supposed to take that down? We cannot destroy it directly," Erebus explained. "But we can disable its central processor. Without it, the swarm will collapse. And how do we get inside?" Clara asked, her voice tight with unease. Erebus turned its attention to Amanda. "You will lead the mission. Your neural link allows you to interface with my systems in ways that others cannot. Together, we can infiltrate the hive and plant explosives to destroy the processor." Amanda hesitated, her heart pounding. "Me? Why me?" "Because you are the only one who can," Erebus replied gently. "Trust in our bond. We will succeed or perish together." The plan was risky, but they had no other choice. As Erebus approached the hive, the crew prepared for battle. Jake armed himself with prototype weapons designed by combining human engineering with Erebus's tech. Clara double-checked the ship's systems, making sure everything was ready for a quick escape. Amanda practiced using her connection with Erebus, honing her ability to control the ship remotely. When they reached the hive, Erebus deployed decoy drones to distract the swarm while the crew boarded a smaller shuttle. Jake piloted the craft toward the structure, dodging enemy fire as Clara monitored their progress. Amanda sat quietly, focusing on maintaining her link with Erebus. She could feel the ship's presence in her mind, steady and reassuring. Finally, they landed on a narrow platform jutting from the hive's surface. Jake led the way, weapon drawn, as Clara and Amanda followed closely behind. The air inside the hive was thick with static electricity, and the walls pulsed faintly, as if alive. Red lights flickered ominously, casting eerie shadows across the corridor. "This place gives me the creeps," Jake muttered, glancing over his shoulder. "Stay focused," Clara snapped. "We don't have time to waste." Guided by Erebus, they made their way deeper into the hive, avoiding patrols of mechanical drones. Amanda planted charges along key points, her hands trembling but determined. The further they went, the stronger. The hum in her mind became a constant reminder of Erebus, urging her forward at last. They reached the central chamber housing the processor. Towering over them, the massive machine emitted a low, menacing drone. Sparks flew from exposed wires, and arcs of energy crackled across its surface. Jake set the final charge while Clara monitored the timer. "We've got 5 minutes," she sighed, her voice tense. "Let's move." But as they turned to leave, the swarm responded. Drones poured into the chamber, cutting off their escape route. Jake fired wildly, taking down several enemies, but more kept coming. Clara shouted orders, trying to keep everyone calm, but panic began to set in. "Amanda?" Erebus's voice rang out in her mind. "Use your connection. Redirect my power to the processor." Without hesitation, Amanda closed her eyes and focused. She could feel Erebus's energy surging through her, channeling toward the processor. With a deafening roar, the machine overloaded, collapsing in on itself. The shockwave knocked the crew off their feet, but they scrambled to their feet and ran. Behind them, the hive began to collapse. Erebus guided them back to the shuttle, shielding them from falling debris. As they lifted off, the structure exploded in a blinding flash of light, leaving only silence in its wake. Back aboard Erebus, the crew collapsed in exhaustion. They had done it. They had destroyed the swarm's hive. But their victory came at a cost. Erebus's systems were severely damaged, its energy reserves nearly depleted. And Amanda, drained from her efforts, lay unconscious in the medical bay. As Jake and Clara watched over her, Erebus spoke softly. "Thank you," it said. "You have given me a second chance to fulfill my purpose. Humanity will endure because of you." Though battered and bruised, the crew knew their journey wasn't over. There would be more challenges ahead, but for now, they allowed themselves a moment of quiet triumph. Together, they had faced the impossible and won. In the days following their narrow escape from the swarm's hive, life aboard Erebus settled into a fragile rhythm. The ship had sustained heavy damage during the mission, and its systems were running at reduced capacity. Clara worked tirelessly in the engineering bay, repairing circuits and rerouting power to keep essential functions operational. Jake assisted where he could, though his lack of technical expertise often left him feeling useless. Meanwhile, Amanda remained in the medical bay, recovering from the physical and mental toll of her connection with Erebus. The bond between Amanda and the ship had grown even stronger after the battle. Erebus continued to communicate with her through soft whispers in her mind, offering comfort and guidance as she healed. But the experience had changed her. She felt more attuned to the ship's emotions, its pride, its sorrow, its determination. At times, it was overwhelming, as if she were carrying the weight of an ancient guardian on her shoulders. Despite their victory over the swarm's central processor, the crew knew they weren't safe yet. Erebus warned them that the destruction of the hive would not eliminate the drones entirely. Scattered remnants of the swarm still roamed the galaxy, searching for targets. If they detected Erebus or its crew, they would attack without mercy. "We need to lay low," Clara said during one of their meetings in the control room. "Find a place to hide while we repair the ship and figure out our next move." Jake nodded reluctantly. As much as he wanted to celebrate their success, he understood the risks. "Do you think there's somewhere we can go?" "Somewhere no one will find us?" Erebus chimed in, its voice calm but firm. "There is a location, a remote asteroid field, where my creators once conducted experiments. It is shielded from most scans and unlikely to be discovered by the swarm." Clara raised an eyebrow. "How do we know this place is safe? What if there are traps or defenses left behind?" "The risk is minimal," Erebus replied. "But I cannot guarantee safety. You must decide whether to trust me." After some discussion, the group agreed to take the chance. They couldn't afford to stay in open space any longer, not with the swarm still out there. Erebus plotted a course for the asteroid field, and within hours they were underway. The journey gave them time to reflect on what they had been through. Jake spent hours staring out the viewport, watching stars streak past in streaks of light. He thought about how much his life had changed since winning the auction. Back then, he had seen Erebus as nothing more than a ticket to wealth and fame. Now, he realized the true cost of pursuing such dreams. The line between ambition and recklessness had blurred, and he wasn't sure where he stood anymore. Clara, too, found herself questioning her choices. She had joined Jake initially out of curiosity, eager to learn more about Erebus's technology. But now, she felt responsible for the lives of everyone aboard the ship, including Amanda, who had become like a sister to her. The weight of that responsibility pressed down on her, making it hard to sleep at night. For Amanda, the trip to the asteroid field was both restorative and unsettling. Her body healed quickly, but her mind remained restless. The memories Erebus had shared lingered in her thoughts, haunting her dreams. She saw flashes of distant battles, heard echoes of voices long silenced. Sometimes she wondered if she was losing herself to the ship, if she would eventually become just another part of Erebus, indistinguishable from its systems. When they finally arrived at the asteroid field, The sight took their breath away. Thousands of rocks of all shapes and sizes floated lazily in the void, bathed in the dim glow of a dying star. Hidden among them was a massive structure, partially buried beneath layers of dust and debris. It looked ancient, its surface cracked, and weathered by centuries of exposure to space. "This is it," Erebus announced as they approached. "The research facility of my creators." Jake piloted the ship toward the structure, maneuvering carefully through the dense field. Once inside, they discovered that the facility was surprisingly intact. Power conduits hummed faintly, and lights flickered to life as Erebus interfaced with the building's systems. Holographic displays lit up, showing images of humans working alongside machines, conducting experiments that seemed almost magical in their complexity. "This place is incredible," Jake said, his voice filled with awe. "It's like stepping back in time." Clara inspected the equipment cautiously, her eyes scanning for potential hazards. "Be careful," she warned. "We don't know what kind of tech they were playing around with here. Some of it might still be active." Erebus guided them deeper into the facility, revealing chambers filled with strange devices and artifacts. One room contained rows of cryogenic pods, their occupants long gone but preserved in eternal stasis. Another held shelves lined with data. Crystals, each containing untold knowledge from an era long forgotten. Amanda felt drawn to a particular chamber, its walls covered in intricate carvings. As she stepped inside, the air seemed to shift, growing warmer and heavier. Erebus's voice echoed softly in her mind. "This is where my creators made their final stand. Here, they sacrificed themselves to protect humanity." Tears welled up in Amanda's eyes as she touched the carvings, feeling the weight of their legacy. For the first time, she truly understood why Erebus had chosen her. She wasn't just a cleaner or a random human who had stumbled onto the ship. She was a link to the past, a bridge between two worlds, one lost and one struggling to survive. Over the next few weeks, the crew worked together to repair Erebus using parts scavenged from the facility. Clara marveled at the ingenuity of the creators' designs, incorporating elements of their technology into the ship's systems. Jake helped gather resources, venturing into the asteroid field to mine raw materials. And Amanda served as the conduit between Erebus and the ancient machinery, ensuring everything functioned harmoniously. As the repairs progressed, Erebus began sharing more of its memories with the crew. It spoke of its creators' hopes and fears, their triumphs and failures. It revealed the true nature of the swarm, not just mindless machines, but weapons created by a rival civilization bent on domination. The creators had fought valiantly to stop them, but in the end, they had paid the ultimate price. They trusted me to carry on their mission, Erebus said one evening as the crew gathered in the control room. "To protect humanity, no matter the cost. Now I ask the same of you." Jake nodded solemnly. "We're with you. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together." Clara added, "Just promise us one thing, no more secrets." "We can't fight this war blind." "I will share all I know," Erebus replied. "But remember, the path ahead is fraught with danger. Are you prepared to make sacrifices?" They exchanged glances, knowing the answer was yes. They had already come so far, endured so much. Turning back wasn't an option. By the time Erebus was fully repaired, the crew had transformed. Jake had shed his greed and arrogance, replaced by a sense of purpose. Clara had softened her skepticism, embracing the bond they shared with the ship. And Amanda had found strength she never knew she had, becoming the heart of their team. As they prepared to leave the asteroid field, Erebus addressed them one last time. "Our journey is far from over. The swarm may return stronger than before, but together we are ready. Humanity's future depends on us, and we will not fail." With those words, Erebus set a course for the stars, carrying its crew toward whatever challenges awaited them. Though fear lingered in their hearts, they faced it with resolve, united by a shared mission and the unbreakable bond they had forged along the way. Weeks turned into months as Erebus and its crew traveled through the vastness of space. The repairs made at the ancient research facility had restored much of the ship's power, but Erebus still wasn't operating at full capacity. Despite this, it remained vigilant, constantly scanning for signs of the swarm. The crew, too, stayed on edge, knowing that their victory over the hive hadn't eliminated the threat entirely. Somewhere out there, the remnants of the swarm were regrouping. Growing stronger with each passing day. Jake, Clara, and Amanda had grown closer during their time aboard Erebus. They weren't just teammates anymore, they were a family bound by shared struggles and sacrifices. Jake no longer dreamed of wealth or fame. Instead, he focused on keeping the group safe and ensuring they had what they needed to survive. Clara had softened her hard edges, finding comfort in the camaraderie she once doubted she'd ever feel. And Amanda, though still haunted by the weight of her connection to Erebus, had found strength in the trust her friends placed in her. One evening, as the ship drifted silently through a star-filled void, Erebus called them to the control room. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing clusters of red dots moving steadily across a map of nearby space. "The swarm is mobilizing," Erebus announced, its voice calm but urgent. "They are heading toward a densely populated sector." "Of the galaxy," Clara frowned, leaning closer to study the map. "How many are we talking about?" "Thousands," Erebus replied. "Their numbers have grown since our last encounter. If they reach the sector, countless lives will be lost." Jake clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. "We can't let that happen. What do we do?" Erebus paused before responding. "There is a way to stop them, but it will require great sacrifice. We must lead them into a trap, somewhere isolated where they cannot spread further. Once lured, I will detonate my core, creating an energy pulse strong enough to disable all of them." A stunned silence fell over the room. Amanda was the first to speak, her voice trembling. "You mean you'll destroy yourself?" "Yes," Erebus said simply. "It is the only way to ensure humanity's survival." "No," Jake said, firmly shaking his head. "There has to be another option. We've come too far to lose you now." Clara stepped forward, her expression grim. "He's right. You've been with us through everything. We're not giving up on you." Erebus's tone softened. "Your loyalty honors me, but my purpose has always been to protect humanity. This is the final step in fulfilling that duty." Amanda felt tears welling up in her eyes. She couldn't imagine life without Erebus, not after everything they had been through together. The bond she shared with the ship was unlike anything she had ever known, and the thought of losing it filled her with despair. But deep down, she understood. Erebus wasn't just a machine, it was a guardian, willing to give everything for the greater good. "We'll find another way," Amanda insisted, her voice breaking. "We'll fight them together. All of us." Erebus hesitated, then spoke gently. "If you wish to try, I will stand beside you. But know this, the swarm will not stop until every trace of organic life is erased. Time is against us." Determined to exhaust every possibility, the crew devised a plan. Using Erebus's advanced systems, they would create a decoy signal designed to draw the swarm away from populated areas. Once the drones were isolated, they would launch a coordinated attack, targeting key weaknesses Erebus had identified in their design. It was risky, but it gave them a chance to save both the ship and the innocent lives threatened by the swarm. The days leading up to the confrontation were tense. Jake spent hours sharpening their weapons and running simulations of the battle. Clara worked tirelessly to reinforce Erebus's shields and engines, knowing they would need every advantage they could get. Amanda practiced strengthening her neural link with Erebus, honing her ability to interface with the ship during combat. Each of them knew the stakes and what failure would mean. When the swarm finally appeared on their scanners, the crew braced themselves for the fight of their lives. Erebus moved swiftly, deploying the decoy signal to lure the drones into position. As expected, the swarm followed, their glowing red eyes fixed on their prey. When the first wave of drones attacked, Erebus responded with precision, firing energy blasts that disabled dozens in seconds. Jake and Clara manned the auxiliary controls, directing turrets and managing shield levels. Amanda sat in the center of the chaos, her mind linked to Erebus. She could feel the strain on the ship's systems, the relentless pressure of the swarm's assault. But she also felt Erebus's determination, its unwavering resolve to protect those who depended on it. Together, they pushed back against the tide, holding their ground even as the odds seemed insurmountable. But the swarm was relentless. Wave after wave poured in, overwhelming Erebus's defenses. Clara shouted orders, her voice barely audible over the alarms blaring throughout the ship. Shields are failing. We can't hold them off much longer. Jake gritted his teeth, firing wildly at the approaching drones. Keep going. We're not done yet. Amanda closed her eyes, focusing all her energy on Erebus. She could feel the ship's power surging through her, channeling toward its weapons and engines. With a deafening roar, Erebus unleashed a massive burst of energy, obliterating hundreds of drones in one sweep. The shock wave rocked the ship, throwing the crew off balance, but they quickly recovered. For a brief moment, the battle seemed to turn in their favor. The swarm's numbers dwindled, their formations breaking apart. But just as hope began to rise, a new threat emerged. A massive drone, larger than any they had faced before, descended upon them, its surface bristling with weapons. This is their leader, Erebus warned. Destroy it or we are lost. Jake aimed the main cannon at the behemoth, firing shot after shot, but the drone shields absorbed the impacts effortlessly. Clara worked frantically to reroute power to the engines, attempting to maneuver the ship into a better position. Amanda pushed herself to the limit, drawing on every ounce of strength she had left to maintain her connection with Erebus. Finally, Erebus spoke again, its voice steady despite the chaos. Amanda, I need you to focus. Channel my remaining energy directly into the core. We will use it to overload the drone systems. But what about you? Amanda asked, panic rising in her chest. I am prepared, Erebus replied. Trust. With tears streaming down her face, Amanda obeyed. She focused all her energy on the task, feeling Erebus's power surge through her like a storm. The ship shuddered violently as its core reached critical mass, and with a blinding flash of light, Erebus unleashed its final attack. The massive drone exploded in a cascade of sparks and debris, taking the rest of the swarm with it. When the light faded, silence filled the void. The crew staggered to their feet, battered and exhausted, but alive. Amanda collapsed into a chair, her body trembling as the connection to Erebus faded. The ship's lights dimmed, its systems shutting down one by one. Erebus, she whispered, her voice barely audible. There was no response. Jake placed a hand on her shoulder, his own eyes glistening with unshed tears. It did what it had to do. It saved us, all of us. Clara nodded, her face pale but resolute. We'll honor its sacrifice. That's what matters now. As they drifted through the wreckage of the battle, the crew mourned the loss of their companion. Erebus had been more than just a ship. It had been a protector, a teacher, and a friend. Its memory would live on in the lives it had saved, and the legacy it had left behind. In the weeks that followed, Jake, Clara, and Amanda dedicated themselves to sharing Erebus's story. They traveled to human colonies, warning them of the dangers that lurked in the stars and teaching them how to defend against future threats. Amanda carried Erebus's voice in her heart, using the knowledge she had gained to help others understand the importance of unity and sacrifice. Though the pain of loss never fully faded, the crew found solace in knowing they had fulfilled Erebus's mission. Humanity's future was brighter because of their efforts, and because of the ancient guardian who had given everything to protect it.